makes sense because we work with children. So I've been doing this for some time. And for the purpose of this, I had to do some reading on the government website and to see what is expected of us as a charity. And so there are the things that we are looking at. So we are safeguarding children and adults at risk. And the government states that, sorry, go back one. It says that safeguarding for children, it means to protect children from abuse and maltreatment, prevent harm to children's health and or development, ensure they grow up with the provision of safe and effective care, and to take action to enable all children and young people to have the best outcomes. As of now, we don't necessarily have a register for kids that we are specifically looking at, but it's a general thing, and we all as workers need to be aware of it and what it means and what we need to do. With regard to the adults at risk, again, we're not holding a register of people, that are on this register, but it's open to anyone that could be deemed at risk. So it's protecting their right to live in safety and free from abuse and neglect. So as a charity, we might, because, sorry, I did say we are a registered charity. So as a charity, we may come in contact with people as part of the congregation that fall into this category. So it's, if there's any need for care and support, if they're experiencing or at risk of abuse and neglect, or any of these issues, we ought to look after them. The next question is the why. Why are we doing this? It's, first of all, it's a legal requirement, and also we are part of a larger community. If time allows, I will mention a specific case of child abuse that had happened about 20 years ago, where about the specific child was part of, so they go to school, and the other places that they go to was church, and it came up, so with the people in the church, they had to be part of the, thank you. So some church members and pastors were part of the people called to court and things like that. So it does apply to us, and as much as we pray, we had to always keep in mind that it could happen here. That's just how safeguarding works. The other reason is because children represent a large number of the people we work with. Just look at the Sunday school department, and that also includes the up to 18, so that's what is considered a child. As per the government's guidance, a child is anyone 18 and below. And finally, the reason why we're looking into safeguarding is because our goal is to raise well-rounded children who grow up to be well-rounded adults. So it's not just children, yes, they are children, but we want them to feel safe and to grow well, to become good and, like, as I said, well-rounded adults. In the definition of safeguarding, it mentions, sorry, next slide please, guys. It mentioned to protect them from abuse and maltreatment, and there are 4 different types of abuse that are recorded, that the government does mention, is physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional, and neglect. Physical feels obvious, is literally physically hitting the child and causing them harm. Sexually, again, that sounds obvious, but it doesn't have to go as far as the act. So anything that leads to this, if the intent is to cause sexual harm to a child, that is what it is. Emotional is anything that is basically attacking the self-esteem of the child, so who they are as a person. And when I was preparing this, I was like, okay, that is a very government-like. But really, one scripture that came to mind is that it said, God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of sound mind. So when I was thinking, it's like, okay, as adults, we're looking after children, we can't create that fear in them because they were not born, God has not given them this spirit. So to create this fear in them, we are damaging them. So it's something we want to avoid. And the other harms and risks neglect. Again, when I was preparing, I thought it would be difficult for us to detect neglect because on Sunday we'll all come when our Sunday's best. So it will be difficult for us to spot anything, but it's always to have to keep it in mind, anything will help build a larger picture. As I said, we're part of a community, so our children, they go to school. If something is picked up at school, within, if they're talking and asking the parents and the children, chances are we might come up because they come here every Sunday. They recognize some of us, they know some of us, they know some of us outside of church. So I don't want to make anyone, it's not to put fear in anyone, it's just to be aware that it could potentially come up. And then obviously our word count as much as, anyone else's testimony. Other ones, are harassment, exploitation, extremism, radicalization, modern slavery, domestic abuse, peer-on-peer abuse. This is child to child. So this is anything that like bullying, whether it's online or face-to-face. It could be just them being nasty to each other. It's something, obviously, in the Sunday school department, we can easily, maybe not easily, but we can pay attention to because we are with them most of the time. But when they are around the church premises, please be vigilant. We also have, as I said, online bullying. With regard to the policy that we currently have, we do have a safeguarding policy, although if I ask, if you were, you probably wouldn't know, but it's been in place for some time. It is being reviewed, so it needs to be reviewed in December. So this December coming, if there's an amendment to be done, that will happen, and it will be shared with the head of department that will then just share it within the group so that you're aware as a worker what it is. It will be available on the website as well, so that anyone, if you look into it, you will be able to find it. And the larger community will have access to it and just know what we do. In the policy, it covers, again, what safeguarding is, why we do this, but also how to go about if there's any concern, if you recognize anything, and how to raise and respond to, can you please, next slide. To recognize, raise, respond, and report any of this. So as I've written there, it's not always easy to recognize some of the signs of abuse, trained or not, because people or children, the way they behave could be just down to, he's being a child. But you have to be careful, and anything is better. Like, it's better to act on things and then find out it's nothing than to just be like, nah, it's just being silly, or, because we don't want it to grow to be anything bigger than that. The guidance on how to respond to a person disclosing abuse is quite well detailed in the policy, so you will know how to talk to them. So if a child was to disclose something to any of you, you're not trying to solve the issue in the sense, well, no, you are trying to solve the issue, but it's not for you to put yourself in harm. So you need to just pass it on to myself, to Pastor Joy, and we'll pick up from there. Anything that is said, if you can write it down so that, verbatim, that is perfect. And then we will just look into it and see where to go and what to do, and we'll just share it with the correct, if it's local authority, if it's the police, if it's whatever, we will do that. On the policy, at the end of it, there is a there's a form attached that you can fill in, and then an email address will be created. There'll be like safeguarding at Breath of Life, so on and so forth. It will be shared with all the heads of department that will share it then with you as worker. Then going forward, we'll have quite a few bits. I don't know if you will. Okay, so going forward, as it's written that safeguarding is everyone's business, not just the Sunday school teachers and not just the ushers. And this one is something we have seen where children are left on their own, whether it's 1, 2, 3, like small groups. I know we have good faith in them. It's like, they'll be okay, but it's not right. So if you're in a room, if you was just in a room with some kids and they're playing, as you're leaving, please usher them back into the main auditorium, just because it's just easier to have all of them in one place. There's probably adults on the stage or whatever that could that keep an eye on them. We will have regular trainings with, if you have any questions, anything like that, that will be more in depth. It's just because I'm quite conscious of time. that will be for everyone, and that everyone I'm thinking is actually adults, so anyone over 18. We will review the different roles and activities that we do in the church and the people in the different departments to see who needs a DBS check and what type of DBS that we need, because we want to do well, really. We want to do this and we want to do it well. And then we'll have some regular updates, so yearly of the policy, just go through it if there's anything that has changed, anything that we need to add. One of the documents that we're using is the governance guidance, that is published or reviewed regularly. So we use that alongside what we have to update, to add anything that needs to be added. And then there will be specific trainings for specific people in specific roles at different levels, because yes, you need to know some stuff, but you don't need to know everything, because if it doesn't apply to you, there's no need for that. And then we'll do some more signposting. So this one was, sorry, go back one. The signposting one, when I put it down just for, maybe not struggling. So if you're having difficulties, because if we're looking at our community as a church, we are of different backgrounds, different culture. So we have different things that we found not necessarily normal, but that was common to where we're from, that would probably not fly here. So the reason for the signposting is just to direct people to courses, reading, the same way we are training ourselves to become better leaders, to become better husbands and wives. It is good for us to become better parents, better guardians, better carers. So these will be the governor offers what we call early help for parents that are finding it difficult to parent, really. So this will be like a buffer between us and before you get to that stage. A couple of weeks ago, during the anniversary, we had a few mums coming up here to say, "Oh, I'll observe Mrs. V, I'll observe Pastor Esther," and then use them for to help me navigate parenting. It's one thing to observe, it's another thing to ask questions, because looking at something from afar, you don't know how they go about it, you just see the result of it. So I think we want to create a culture where we ask questions. There's no shame. If you don't know how to do something, just ask for it. How did you do this? How did you achieve that? Where did you find this, this reading or this video? It could be literally just a short clip of things not necessarily that you implement, but you will be aware of, and then you can adapt your parenting. And again, I'm not saying you're going to become somebody else's, another parent to your child. You know what your child needs, but also there are some like basic needs that need to be met for them to grow and to be well-rounded adult. The last bit was, I think it was just more for me. Can you just change the slide? Oh, yeah, that was more for me to know what to do. It's more like for HODs that we'll share that with. And then the last two slides, we're not going to watch the video, but if you just go to the last one, that's the case I mentioned to you about. This little girl would have been probably 30, around my age now, but probably 10 years ago, I think it was, she was victim of abuse by her auntie, who adopted her from a family and traveled to her from the Ivory Coast to first France, then to the UK. And as a result of the things that she went through, she unfortunately passed away. And when they did the inquiry into the case, they noticed that not only social services had failed her, but actually the other community that she was part of, they failed to notice some of the signs, and that were, when you read the report of the inquiry, you would think it's obvious, but I think when it's like, oh, it's family, it's like this, we do it like this, and you just, oh, that's not my child, and those thoughts can put any child in danger, or any adult at risk in proper danger. So we are a part of the larger community of BCP and of the UK, and we ought to go by some of the laws. And yeah, thank you, Pastor Joy. We'll add some bits to it.
Okay. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming in your numbers. Can we celebrate Sister Mara again, our new Safeguard lead? Just to reiterate some of the points, especially with the last case, if you look at a lot of the writings that was on the case, a lot of it pointed to the church. And some of this information is, available on the internet on how the church failed one of the kids. They didn't leave the church out. People didn't say, oh, it's just a worship service. Like, we are treated as an organization who should look after our children. And one of the, some of the things I wanted to share with us quickly, and please don't say, well, it's the Sunday school teacher's responsibility, because as a church we'll be implementing some things that will protect us as an organization. And if you fail to follow that, you'll be liable, and it would not be the church. And this is why we're making it everybody's point of contact to understand these things. And again, I love the point Mara was saying about asking questions. To be honest, has anyone got any questions at the moment? Let's take that first. Any questions? We all understood it. We are all safeguarders. Okay, perfect. But yeah, it's just asking questions if you're not sure. We're not expecting you to be experts straight away. And as Sister Mara mentioned, we'll be doing some specific trainings for departments, especially departments that have young people. The technical department, you have a lot of teenagers there. Children's department, of course, and anyone who will be working with children. So one of the first things we'll be doing, I think Sister Mara mentioned, is the safeguard policy, which will be made available to all the HODs, and it's the HOD's responsibility to share with every single worker. What we would be doing, we would have, so a lot of us work in healthcare, if I'm not mistaken, and when you read the safeguard policy, you have to sign it as well. So we'll be taking that just to get an acknowledgement that you've read the policy and you understand it. Of course, we're not asking you to memorize it, but at least you know where it's available to get it from. Sister Mara did mention that it will be on the website, but also that you're aware of the contents of the safeguarding and who to go to if you've got any questions. So leading on to the second point, the workers will be required to read and sign that they've understood the policy. I think a copy of the policy would also be, a paper copy will be available in Pastor Esther's office at all times for anyone to refer to. In terms of the safeguard level courses, Level 1 course will be available for all of us, so all the workers will have to complete that, just because in and around the church, you're responsible for every, not just children, but any vulnerable adult as well, so you understand what to do when you feel like they might be at risk of something. Level 2 will be completed by all HODs, and I think all Sunday school teachers will either be level 2 or level 3 because they work directly with the children. And level 3 will be completed by all the pastors, the safeguarding leads, the co-leads, and the medical team. So the medical team, I'll just mention that very briefly. So we're looking to, by the grace of God, the church is getting bigger. We're having more people, even people that we do not know. Because how many people know everybody in this church? Apart from God. That's what I thought. Okay. So, we, as an organization, we're so responsible to not just your spiritual growth, but your physical, emotional, and every other rounded, anything that concerns you by the grace of God, because that's our, our role as a church. So the medical team will be established, and by the grace of God, Sister Bumi, where are you? She's somewhere. Oh, there we go. She's kindly, she's kindly going to be leading it and pushing it forward. So can we celebrate Sister Bumi? So if there's anybody who is either medically trained or a first aider, because that will be one of the roles of the medical team, if you are interested in part of the team, please speak to Sister Bumi, and we will organize training for you, first aid training, medical team training, and she has got amazing initiatives by the grace of God to look after us as a church. That's just by the side of it. Anyway, so yeah, medical team will have to do the level 3. If anyone's interested in being part of the Safeguard team, please indicate to myself or Sister Mara, and we will create a group, and everything to do with safeguarding, you will be the first point of call, just in case Sister Mara is not around. There will be someone always available, every service, every program, as our point of contact. The immediate implementation for us in the church premises, as Sister Mara mentioned, is all children should be supervised at all times. And I've written some point of actions for some departments just to mention. a few for now. So, for example, the choir department, when you have rehearsals, we're the choir people, thank you. When you have rehearsals, no child should be left in the purple room without an adult. If you want to see, the children should always be in your thank you, in your line of vision, so they can be like, if you're singing upstage, they can sit around here. Of course, make sure they're not damaging anything, because that's another thing we notice. We see kids touching very expensive equipment, praise God, and you know, the parents just don't do anything about it, or adults walk past. Please, 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 it's all, you know, you see the kids walking by this heater, for example, and you know they're very curious, they want to touch, and you just walk past.